Hi, everyone. Let me welcome you to today's interview with Barry. It's going to be a very different and unique interview. You're going to learn a lot, but I'm sure you're going to laugh a lot as well. Barry, good to see you again. And you always start with a laugh and a smile, which is so amazing. Welcome to this Great People interview series.
Yes, nice to meet you again, and thank you for inviting me to be with you.
Great. So to introduce Barry, he is a lot to be introduced or a period of time, but just to give you the glimpse, he is a CEO and MD of PLC company. He's done a lot of ventures. He's led a lot of companies, more than half a dozen. And interestingly, he led a football club, which was then launched into as well. So a lot of great success stories, and I'm sure interesting stories for all of us to learn. So Barry, tell us your latest stuff, what you're doing, and then obviously your journey.
Well, currently I have my own business, which is a management consultancy business, and I spend time with clients, helping clients. And all those 30 years plus of being a CEO and an MD and running different companies, I'm using all that business experience and my life experience to help companies to develop and grow, overcome challenges that they face as they grow. And you get growing pains in a business if you're growing, and some companies grow quite rapidly, and so therefore they have a lot of issues to overcome. So I go into companies and help them with that. I look at new opportunities, I look at new markets, I look at launching new products or services. I go in and coach their management. I help them with their marketing and communications to the marketplace or internally to their staff. I go in there and help them on whatever they want me to do, where I have knowledge, experience, and skills to offer.
Fantastic. And I guess you have a plenty of that. Should I say 40 years of experience, Barry?
I would say so, yes. I mean, my first little venture was when I was about 19, 20. I ran 6 filling stations at the age of 19, 20. They were all franchises. And at that very early age, I decided to have a go on my own. And since that age of 19, 20, which is a long, long time ago, I ran 6 petrol stations with 30 plus staff, and I learned a lot.
Wow.
In those very early days of going on my own, in Nottingham, where I used to live. But yes, it was quite an interesting journey. And I'm now 30, 40 years on, I'm now giving all that back to help other companies.
Wow, fantastic. Well, yes, Nottingham is a great place, very near to Loughborough, where my son is studying. So yeah, it's a place I've recently visited a few times. Wow. So at the age of 19, 20, you have been running 6 petrol stations, which is amazing. Uh, and if you just tell us your backstory, how was your journey from there on?
Well, I then went into work for the Chamber of Commerce. I was like their commercial person, going to visit companies and businesses. And that's where I gained a lot of my sort of expertise and knowledge in business, because I met a lot of managing directors and CEOs and chairmen of companies. And I learned a lot from them because I was representing the Chamber of Commerce in Nottingham, offering the services and all the various activities that the Chamber provides to local businesses. And that's where I really sort of got interested. And from there, I moved on into publishing, into magazines and newspapers. And from there, I went into management consultancy. And then from there, I ended up at Leicester City Football Club in the early 90s as one of the first marketing directors in professional football. And Leicester City then was quite an old club. The stadium was almost run down. It was a loss-making business. It's turning over about 1 million and losing about 2 million. And my job there was to go in there as a marketing director to make links with local businesses and the community, and to sell the concept of a new stand that was building a few years down the line, about £7 or £8 million worth of cost, and also to generate more revenue and more income on the commercial side of the business. So that was my biggest task and challenge in my life. And very quickly from there, in that sort of 8, 9, 10 years I was there, I took that business along with my team, it was a team effort, from £2 million right up to 25 million, and the commercial opportunities went from £500,000 to 8 million in 8 years. So we really did increase that. And I started off with a staff of about 20 and ended up with a staff of about 500 as the CEO.
Wow.
2 years later, I was then promoted to the chief executive, and the first chief executive of a football club, at Leicester, and one of the first chief executives in professional football. And from there, we developed the business, developed the ground, all the commercial activities, and we made profit year on year on year with a club that had, when I first went there, had nothing and was almost bankrupt.
Wow. So that's so exciting. Well, football is the sport that most of us love in the UK, and of course it's a sport that is loved across the world as well. And so you have been in the early stages of that game, building Leicester Football Club. And so tell us a little more, how did you manage to do those wonders with that business?
When I got there, I'm going to paint you a picture. The stand was very old. It's a very old stand and a very old stadium. And you can imagine, in the 90s, it was very dirty. And my office actually was the size of a toilet. We had no windows, and it had one bulb in the ceiling. And my desk had a brick under one of the legs to hold it up. And next door was the kitchen, and there was gas leaking from the kitchen and into the room, and I could smell gas. And this was my first day there. And my job was a blank sheet of paper. You've got to go out there and generate, commercial activities and profits. And I was put in a dungeon with a dingy light to try and make to make it all happen. So I was very creative, very passionate. I'm very sort of driven, and I thought. When I first went there, some of the staff I inherited a lottery manager and a commercial manager and a catering manager, all very negative people. And none of them wanted me there because they'd been allowed to get away with whatever they wanted to get away with. And because I was their new boss and there's a new position created, I had a lot of people against me, working against me because they didn't want me there. And so I actually said to these people, look, if you want to go forward with me, this is my vision. And I had this vision about how I'd turn the football club from an ailing, loss-making club to a profitable business, because football is a business at the end of the day. If you don't make profit, you don't keep going. And, so I said to them, this is my journey, come along with me. I gave them the chance to. Most of them didn't want to. So, I had to sort of say to them, well, the best thing to do, you go and do something else and I'll carry on what I'm doing. And I brought new people in who wanted to be on that journey with me. It was very hard, very challenging. The task was to drive the business forward, growth, income, commercial opportunities. And we revamped everything. I mean, the retailing side was very poor. All the merchandise was very inferior. So we had a new brand called Fox Leisure, which we opened with a new brand for all the kits, for all the merchandise. And brands to me are important because football fans do buy and support a brand. Yeah. And that Fox Leisure was successful. We had Fox Catering, which is our own catering in-house, because what we had previous to that was very poor. And we created all these different brands. We had a community department I set up. We had a lot of corporate hospitality. We got a lot of businesses involved, we did a lot of charities, and we became very fashionable and very noticeable in a city where the football club had been really sort of in the gutter, if you know what I mean. It was really down at that level. And all of a sudden, the team and I grew the business year on year. As you grow a business, you expand and you get your growing pains, and the growing pains meant I had to take more staff on. But we kept moving on and moving on. And eventually, I built a new stand costing £6 million with my team. And I can remember one of the companies who shared my vision said to me, Barry, I'll have one of those boxes in the executive boxes in that newsstand. And he wrote a check out there and then out of his pocket for £75,000 and gave it to me and said, that's our contribution for the next 2 or 3 years for our box. And that's what sort of thing happened. And when I stood back and looked at the building going up and looked at the opportunities that building created, that new stand created a catering. We used to do 1,000 meals on a match day. We used to have people doing conferences and banqueting in there. Our retailing shot up into, thousands and millions of pounds. And, I opened even more shops in the county of Leicestershire so that people could go to a local shop as opposed to going into the stadium all the time. But we grew the business quite rapidly. But that brought its problems. It was staffing problems, finding the right people, making sure they were trained, making sure they were brought into the culture of the organisation, making sure that they shared our vision, making sure that, we had no negativity, because I'm a great positive and, I'm a great believer that positivity and passion drives you. And, I'm a very passionate person myself, and everything in my life I've done with huge passion, with huge drive and huge expectations. And people liked the way I worked. I involved them, I communicated with them, I asked for their input, and I made them feel part of the journey. Whereas I've worked now with some clients and they don't keep their staff informed enough, they don't get them involved enough, and that makes people think they're not interested or bothered about them. Well, my life's always been about people. It's about looking after people, sharing things with people, involving people, making them feel important and making them feel part of that team, because I don't do it on my own. I have to do it with a group of people. I can't deliver on my own if I'm going to do big projects like increase a turnover from 1 million to 25.
Wow, amazing. I think, there's a lot that goes in, from, where you started with the football club, which had all the challenges you can probably imagine, right? From people to infrastructure, to assets, to funds. And, one by one, you solved every part of the puzzle and you kind of built the final picture, which is, which was your vision. So if you have to analyze, what was that? Of course, you did a million things to get it right. But what was that one thing that you feel, or there might be an incident that you might want to share, that was kind of a turning point to the whole success story?
Well, I think one of the things is when I first moved, I was living in Somerset and I moved to Leicester. And I went there, and a lot of the people I spoke to were very negative and were saying to me, this is people outside in the community, because the football club was never ambitious in the early days. And people say to me, why are you coming to work here? It's not going anywhere. What are you doing? A young chap like you, I was youngish. And, and I said, well, I've come here with a vision and I know what I've got to do and I want to make that happen. And it took 2 or 3 years of going out into the community, meeting the local authorities, meeting charities, meeting organisations, meeting different groups of people, and convincing them that the football club was going to be a massive community player. Because when I first went there, the football club never got involved with the community. It just dealt with the fans, let the fans in, play the game and go home. There's no real sort of involvement with the fans. It was, you can come in, pay your money and watch the game. Well, my attitude was, let's rip all that down. Let's knock the walls down and start communicating, involving people. And I set up fans forums. I mean, one of the things I did was I said to all the fans, we're not going to buy any more merchandise in that shop for you to buy unless you agree. And I set up a fans forum, and once a month I had a cross section of 30 fans that used to come in, and we put in front of them different items that we wanted to buy, and if they agreed, 70% of them agreed, we'd put it in the shop and sell it. If they didn't, we wouldn't. So the fans had control of the merchandise and the leisure wear and everything we did. They had control of the of what we did. And that way, if anybody said, I don't like that, I said, well, the fans forum and the fans themselves, a cross-representation of fans, they agreed that, and therefore we did it. So that was my answer. And by doing that, fans were very appreciative of the fact that they just weren't given something to buy. They had input into what we bought. So that was one thing that I think helped me. The general community at large was great, because I became a walking PR machine, because I was talking about who we are, what we're doing, our vision. And I was out most nights doing talks, presentations, talking about the football club. And all of a sudden, the football club, over the next 2 or 3 years, the profile lifted. The new manager that came in at the same time as I was, Brian Little, he had a very successful on the pitch for 2 or 3 years. We went to Wembley quite a few times. And that, together with what I was doing, the two of us managed to raise the roof of the football club. The people came back, supported us, businesses came in, we had more fans coming in, and the whole thing just took off. And it was a rolling success story all the way to the 2000 when I left.
Wow, amazing. That's a lot to learn, I guess. And I like that approach. And many businesses, and business owners who are watching this interview, I think, the key here is involving your customer into what you're delivering, and then you don't have to do any pitch. There is no sales pitch, because you ask them, is it something that you like? I give you a choice, and then they have actually chosen the products to be put into the shops. So number one, they are already convinced. Number two is they are probably advocates or ambassadors, because they are going to say, hey, you know what? They put that product because I said, yes, this is a good product. So you get, that. So you have suddenly created an army of salespeople or ambassadors who are not only buying for themselves proudly, but also advocating. And in sales and marketing, we talk about advocacy and referral marketing, which is the most powerful marketing, rather than sales pitches. And you have given us the example of how actually you implemented that way back in 90s, but it's still relevant today, and made a great success.
But we didn't have technology then. We didn't have social. We didn't have a lot of the technology that people have today, all the different platforms. We didn't have that. We had to use local media interviews. We had to do mail shots. We had to do talks to people. I used to go out and talk to many groups of people about what our vision is and what we're trying to achieve and where we're going. So a lot of it was personal. Today, you've got all the technology, all the platforms you can use to communicate to people. But I'm a great believer that I'm a people person. I'd rather do it face to face than do it over a platform. But then you have to use those. You have to use those technologies to help you, because you can't talk to everybody face to face. But I think it's very important. And my sort of thing to people is good communication, keeping people informed. Staff that you work with, involve them, ask for their input, make them feel part of the company and the team. Give them individual tasks to contribute to the group tasks, and make people feel special. But least of all, or most of all, should I say, reward people and make sure they are fairly rewarded and appreciate them. And if you do those sort of things, like I've done all my life, I've still got people now who come to me 30 years down the line, in touch, can you help me with that, Barry? I remember at Leicester City you did this for me. When you had your agency, Barry, you did that, because I had an advertising, marketing, PR agency after leaving football. And, I have people who still come back to me now, 10, 20, 30 years ago, to ask me to help them with a new business or a concept they're trying to work out or whatever. So that to me is great stuff.
Great. Amazing. Hi there. I just wanted to share with you all why London School of Digital Business is doing this great people interview series. Well, for the last few years, small and medium businesses have been facing lots of challenges. Individuals have been wondering what's going to happen to their careers because of this emerging trends and technologies, artificial intelligence, VR, AR, what's going to happen? It feels as if the world is changing. And then COVID hit, and there is a lot of depression in the minds of people. So we thought we need to bring in some positivity, bring in some motivation and inspiration. And it's all good to know these stories of, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates. But we wanted to talk about the extraordinary stories of the people that you get to see in the ordinary world. They are no way ordinary people. They are great people, but they are the ones you can relate to. Hence, we thought this is something that we want to bring in to increase the chances of success for many, motivate them, give them the insights. I'm so happy to share that every leader has shared completely unique and different insights because their situations have been different. Somebody was alone, and we know that entrepreneurs are alone at the top and how it feels, and they fought their challenges. Somebody had partnership, business partners, and somebody could not survive the business partnership, so they had to rebuild themselves. Somebody thought, well, I could have done this differently if I was to go back in time. So every insight is so unique. I must thank all the people who shared their journeys, and I'm sure this will help you all succeed in life, increase the chances of your success, as well as reach there faster, and of course, achieve happiness in life. Thank you for listening. Amazing, amazing. Now, we would move to the next part of the interview, where we would like to know Barrie as a person. So some lighter questions and just quick answers. So Barrie, what you do over the weekend?
Well, I do lots of things because I'm a big theatre goer and a big cinema goer. I like watching football, and I've worked at 4 different football clubs, so I have to watch those. I was born in Nottingham, so I have to watch them. So I try and watch as much football as I can where I was working or where I was born. I like going out in the summer on my bike cycling, and I'm very charitable. I like to help charities as well. I get involved in lots of community work and charity work because there's people out there that's less fortunate than me and have not had my journey in life, which has been quite challenging, interesting, good and bad, hard and not so hard, but I like to help other people as well. So I do lots of things and then still find time to sort of put my feet up.
Brilliant. How about your family?
Well, there's about 2 of us left, I think, so in my family, but I've got a lot of relatives and cousins and things that I keep in touch with. But as you get older, like I am, I mean, everybody just moves off or pops off or whatever. So, those are the sort of things that happen in life. But yeah, I'm still in touch with everybody that, is around me.
You got any pets?
No, I had a pet when I was a young lad, and I pestered my mother and father for a dog. And I had to look after the dog, take it for walks, and do everything for the dog. And I had 10, 15 years of that. And I thought, well, I don't want any more later on in life. I've been so busy with work and other things I've been doing that if I had a pet, they'd never see me.
Sure. And what would be your favorite holiday destination?
Well, I've got to say that in my younger years, I've always liked Florida, and I've always liked going to all the theme parks. I'm a bit of a character when it comes to having fun. I'm not one for lying on a beach getting sunburnt and that. And if I do go to Spain or France or Italy, I like to visit and view. But Florida has been the best one because I had a lot of good times in Florida. I went 2 or 3 times in my life, and I do like an activity holiday rather than laying on my back.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, that's amazing to know. Now coming to the last and most important part of the discussion, what would be your advice to our viewers who we have students, we have entrepreneurs, businessmen?
Well, my advice is this. I think you should be your own person. I mean, I've never been influenced by people because people try to influence you to think their way, and I've always thought my own way by thinking things through. I set my vision out in life, and I plan that vision and I plan that journey. I share my vision with people. Um, I also make sure I research my markets. So if I'm running a business, I know the marketplace I'm in, what the market can stand in pricing and product or service and so on. I think you've got to offer a USP. Now, the USP in my life has been something very different to most people's, and it's always been about something special and out of the ordinary. And I won't go into great detail there because I think people have got their own USPs. I've always found good communication very important, whereas a lot of people nowadays say, oh, I thought you knew this, I assumed you know that, and that to me is not good enough. I also think that any business you need to run needs to be profitable and making sure that you know how to make that profit. Make sure you've got good people around you. I've always had good people around me. I've picked a good management team. I've picked good staff to work with. As I said before earlier on, I've involved people so they feel part of the team. It's good to have a good team of people. I think you've got to be strong. You've got to take the ups with the downs. I think you've got to be forward thinking all the time and make sure that any problems, you see them before they come, so you're ready for them, like I always am.
Fantastic. Do you want to show us your book?
Oh, yes. My book is called Minding My Own Football Business. And I wrote this book about a year ago. It's about my 10 years at Leicester City, both on the pitch and off the pitch, and how I transformed the football club from a loss-making business with my team. It's a teamwork, and that book's on sale from a company called Morgan Lawrence, or you can find it on Minding My Own Football Business. It's available in bookstores, it's available online, it's available Waterstones, Smiths, that type of place. But you know, if you do it through Morgan Lawrence, www.morganlawrence.co.uk, the orders will come to me, and I can sign the books for you with a message inside, because they send
Wow.
to me, and I can actually write a message inside the book for you, and I can sign it and send it back to you.
Amazing. That's wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Barrie. I think this interview was very insightful. We learned a lot of things, and I'm sure the audience loved it too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Cheers.